everyone to the Outtakes Movie Podcast. I am Sam and we are still wrapping up a little quest to find the objective list of the 50 best to worst movies of all time. Joined as always by my amazing team. Amelia, how's it going?
Things are going very good. Very good. Not much, but yeah, good.
It's fair. Lockdown 2.0. We're back to... Joe?
Yeah, not too bad, yeah. Pretty good. Pretty
Sick.
good.
Good stuff. And Jacob?
Yeah, kind of the same.
Nice. Good stuff, good stuff. So this week we are covering the Coen brothers film Fargo, which came out in the UK on the 31st of May, 1996. So, as always, we'll do a little pop culture roundup and we'll see what's going on in the world of the pop charts, video games, and the cinema. So, in the charts, this is a weird one, right? So, there was, like there is a lot of the time, just lots of names disappeared to time, maybe popular artists that released bunk singles. So, I've only found 4 that I think have stood the test of time. So those 4, starting from number 30, are Firestarter by The Prodigy.
Oh my god.
It's
Nice.
the 1990s, baby.
All right.
Which I 100% associate with Wipeout games because I was used to play on the PS1. At number 25, no fucking joke, the X-Files theme.
Nice. I mean, it is like mid-90s, so it doesn't really surprise me.
But
That's
to
the really
chart,
weird one,
and to
though.
chart well, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Like, when I saw it on the list, I was like, maybe it's just a song called X-Files. I'll check it. No. It is the X-Files
actual
theme. Yeah. By comparison, number 3 is Return of the Mac, Mike Morrison. That's just a regular ass song. That's a good bop. That has absolutely stood the test of time. And number 2, Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit by Gina G.
A little bit more.
That's the one.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So over in the world of video games, there was 2 notable releases the same day Fargo came out. Well, one's a notable release. One of them happens to be in a popular franchise. So one of them was Final Doom for DOS, for home PC, which was so called because it was supposed to be the final version of the original game. That was a lie. And also on the Game Boy, Kirby Block Ball, which is just a Kirby game, but it was, the game Breakout or Arkanoid, where you break blocks, you shoot a thing up and it breaks blocks. It was that, but it was Kirby instead. And I kind of wish these like mascot games were still a thing, like traditional. So like traditional arcade games with popular mascots. So like it would be Donkey Kong, exactly as Donkey Kong looks, right? But it's like Kratos going to rescue like Boy, at the top, jumping over barrels. I miss that sort of stuff. In the world of cinema, there was... Do you know what? There was some good stuff. There was some weird stuff. So the first Mission Impossible came out.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Dragonheart came out. If anyone's
I
seen
remember
that.
that one.
So Dragonheart was a movie where... I can't remember the specifics because it's been a very long time since I watched it. But basically... this guy's dying, and a dragon agrees to give him like his heart to survive. But now they're connected, so if he dies, the dragon dies, and if the dragon dies, he dies. So they've got to like protect each other. But dragons are feared creatures, so it's about it's like a metaphor for.
Oh my god, I do remember this. This is on like ITV2 every now.
Yeah,
and then.
yeah. It always used to be on ITV, and it was about like you've got more in common with people you fear than you think, that kind of thing. They have continued to make Dragonheart direct to DVD like movies for years. It's a huge franchise, like the Scorpion King, where there's like 6 more movies than you remember there being.
Oh yeah.
That's coming back, isn't it? Have you seen this?
Apparently so. Yeah. Spy Hard came out. Leslie Nielsen. Yeah. Spy Hard. Yeah. Have you seen like films like Airplane and stuff?
It's not. You know what? I don't mind film. It's like the all right version of the shitty 2000 versions of them, which is like fucking scary movie and all them. They're like the shitty versions of those films, and those films are already like designed to be shitty anyway.
What's the other Leslie Nielsen like parody film? It's like a cop movie.
Naked
Gun.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's pretty good. And Trainspotting came out as well.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's
Nice.
that is a good flick. I'd say that's probably one that's your biggest competition in direct relation to Fargo.
Yeah.
So tell us all about it, Amelia.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Take it away.
Thank
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Sam. There you go. I can stop. I won't do that ever again.
I will.
Yeah, so like I was saying to you guys before we started, Fargo is one of those weird films where I think unless you're into film and you enjoy a kind of slow-paced film, you won't like this film. Straight up, you just won't like it. Whereas I think if you just want something to kind of sit, watch with a good little storyline, then I think you will get on with it. It's a weird film. I didn't know how I felt about it when I first finished watching it, but I really liked it. Like, the more you kind of sit back and you think about it, you're like, oh no, actually it was okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So like you say, you've got Frances McDormand, who obviously she's still doing pretty well now with her acting career.
Absolutely.
She plays Margie the cop. So
she's actually married to Joel Coen,
is
the guy
she?
who directs this film. Yeah, they were married by like 10 years by this point. Yeah.
Oh wow, see that makes sense.
She's in a few of their films. Yeah.
Oh my, I didn't know that. Because when I watched, like I talk about later on in awards season, she's sat next to, like, she's in between the two brothers, so that makes sense that she's.
That's she's married to him. Yeah, they've been married to her since like the 80s or something.
Oh wow, that's quite cool. William H Macy, who I haven't actually looked up what else he's done. He plays Jerry, the car salesman.
He's in the US Shameless. That's like the thing he's famous for in America. Yeah, he's in US Shameless. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Of course, Steve Buscemi. Everyone knows Steve Buscemi.
Of course.
Amazing.
Funny looking one.
The funny looking, exactly that. He basically, apparently, the brothers wrote this role with him in mind. Like, they really wanted Steve to play this role, which is quite fun. And then Peter, it's like, I can't say it. It's a Scandinavian, like I think he's Swedish. And so I'm not going to say it just because I know I'll butcher it. He plays Gier. But there's the fun little fact there where apparently when they were filming over in America, because like most of it wasn't actually filmed in Fargo. I think it was just in and around Minnesota. And apparently he would spend his days off going to towns that had Swedish names and like looking around them, which is quite fun.
That's quite cute.
It's quite cute,
Just
isn't
picturing
it?
that man like going around all these little towns. That's adorable. I love that.
Considering he plays like...
I'm sure I recognised him.
I didn't look. I can very, very quickly look now. But while I'm looking, what did you guys think of like the casting and stuff? Obviously, they probably were kind of just kickstarting their careers probably back then-ish, if for some of them. But what did we think?
I mean, I like William H Macy anyway, so when I saw him in this, I was like, nice, that guy. And then this is the first thing I saw, what's her name in? Frances McDormand in anyway. So I didn't actually know who she was at this point, but I imagine... I mean, I don't know, she'd been in a few other films by this point, so, you know, maybe she might have been, I don't know what else, anything big before this, though, that she was in. But, yeah, I like it. It's a good cast. Everyone loves Steve Buscemi, he's a G.
Yeah, he's great.
Can't go wrong with Steve Buscemi.
I can't think of anyone that turns in a bad performance on this film.
No. I don't think
everyone's excellent in it.
Even like the father-in-law, who apparently he hadn't done a film for 20 years when he did this film, so he came back to do this film, which is quite a fun little fact.
Wow.
But yeah, really quickly, William H Macy was in Shameless, like you said, Joe. Wild Hogs, Boogie Nights, Jurassic Park 3, bits and bobs.
Nights. I forgot he was in Boogie Nights.
And then other things, but they must have been... He's in Room, apparently, the Rooney Mara film. Not Rooney Mara. It's thingy, isn't it? What's her name? Brie Larson, not Rooney Mara. And then Pete Stormare. It's like that's how it's like you think you'd say it. Prison Break. Constantine, which apparently is getting another... I've never seen it, but the one with Keanu Reeves. That's getting a sequel, apparently. Armageddon.
It's getting a sequel, the Keanu Reeves one.
Apparently, it's either a sequel or a prequel. They're going. Apparently, it's been agreed. Yeah,
it's not very good.
You seem so excited or like intrigued to begin with.
I know, that's why I was like,
that baffles me. Like, that movie's so old now. No one has fond memories of like seeing it. There's been another John Constantine since then. That's weird. I don't like it. I don't like it.
And for him, the only other film, Bad Boys 2 and stuff like that, but The Big Lebowski. So he's been in another Coen Brothers film, which is interesting. Yeah, obviously it's set in Minnesota. But this film did actually win 2 awards. It was obviously nominated for other things. I have a funny... throwing my pen around. I have a funny nomination story, which I'll tell you in a minute. But it did win 2 awards. It won Best Actress for Frances McDormand as Marge, and Best Writing for the Coen Brothers for Best Original Screenplay. But you guys may or may not have noticed this. I definitely didn't notice it. I learnt this through doing a bit of research. But listed as the editor, they actually listed the name, let me get this right, Roderick James, who is no one. It's made up. Basically, the Coen brothers, because they do a lot on their own films, like they will write, direct, and edit pretty much everything. And because they thought, right, okay, we don't want to be dicks here and have our name plastered everywhere, we're going to put a fake name. But then the film goes and gets nominated for Best Editing. And so there's clips of it online, like it's going through all the films and it's like, Roderick James for Fargo. And apparently they sent, it's someone, I didn't note down the name, but they sent someone they knew in disguise, essentially, just in case they won and he had to go up and accept for them.
I love that.
Which I think is quite fun. I think that's really, really fun. But yeah, so I'll give you an option. Like I said, I've written down the plot, so I can really quickly blast through the plot and then we can do facts after. Or do you want some facts and information first? Do you guys choose for once?
Yeah, we'll do facts. We'll do facts
Should we do some facts first and then we'll blast through a bit of storyline? Like I say, it's a weird one, this one, where there is a lot of talking and conversation and kind of building up to the end. So and even in the film techniques and stuff, it's kind of not basic, but like, you know how some directors would do something very deliberately and you go, oh, look at this mise en scène. Da, da, da. This is kind of, they've really tried to make this realistic, this film. I mean, for example, at the beginning, they had it's based on a true story. Did you guys know that it's not based on a true story? It's completely made up.
Well, it is made up, but they've been very... Every time someone asks them, they're like, oh, well, no, it could be based on a true story.
They've combined events, haven't they? That's what's going on.
Exactly, yeah. They've basically taken loads of different things and made a story from it. So essentially it is a true story, but it's not a true story. But I read somewhere that apparently one of the reasons why they did this as well is because back then in the 90s, there were a lot of these based on a true story films and they were like, this is just getting ridiculous now. So it's kind of taking the piss out of it a bit. One thing I love about this film is the fact that obviously there's snow everywhere. You know, it's based in Minnesota. But when they were filming this in 1995, this was Minnesota's second hottest winter on record. So in scenes where when Steve Buscemi's going out to bury the suitcase, he should be up to his waist, essentially, and higher in snow. That's the normal Minnesota winter. But he's not. Like, they literally said that they had to drive a little bit further down in the country to find, like, actual snow and like thick snow because a lot of it is fake. So for example, the bit where he's driving on the car park, isn't he, and he's just going for ages and then he just kind of like if you look in the background there's no snow. It's completely like they've obviously either forgotten or just left it. So the car park is covered in this thick sheet of snow which is fake. But in the distance, it's just normal. It's just because it's not filmed in Minnesota, which is I think is quite funny. But this was a very low budget film. I didn't actually write the budget down. I forgot that we did that. I'm not gonna lie. I've just remembered now. Oh well. But it was very low, basically. And did you guys know that the Coen brothers are actually from Minnesota?
I didn't know that actually.
Apparently, they are from Minnesota, which is quite fun. But this film, like I said a minute ago, like half of it wasn't even shot in Minnesota. Like in Fargo, in the town of Fargo, like a lot of it is in different bars and different places.
Fargo, I'm sure I remember reading Fargo. It's on like the very edge of the
on the
state
Canadian
line
border,
anyway.
Probably, yeah.
It's like in North something. It's like kind of in North Dakota, I think. Let me see. I'm sure the
it's
actual
such a weird
city.
Accent.
Yeah, it's actually the city is actually North Dakota, not Minnesota.
There you
It's
go.
on the very, very edge, I'm sure. It's on like the border of the two.
That's so weird.
It's classed as North Dakota. Yeah, but
Don't they travel between the two anyway? There's a lot of travelling over state lines.
I think so, yeah.
yeah, well, the state line, looking at the map, the state line actually cuts straight through the sea.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, okay.
I didn't know
So
that.
between Minnesota and... Because where is it? It's Rain... What is it called? Rain or something? The town.
Reynard.
Oh, there's too many cities. I'm not going to try and look for it on Google Maps. Too many cities. But yeah, no, the state line cuts straight through the city, so it's like half of it's in Minnesota and half of it's in thingy. Yeah, there you go. In fact, I remember seeing that ages ago, yeah, when I was watching the show.
I did not know that myself. There we go. But yeah, so sorry, yeah, I've lost my, and you're like, shit, I gotta get back into this. So the scene where Jerry is trying to sell to the couple a top coat and it's all going a bit downhill, that apparently was based on one of Ethan Coen's actual real life experiences with a car salesman. So he said that pretty much most of that he tried to put word for word from his own memory, which is quite fun. I mean not all of us, because most of us haven't bought cars and stuff. Well, I don't think maybe any of us have. I haven't. But I think that would happen with a lot of car salesmen, kind of being these kind of kind of weird, creepy guys.
Mm-hmm. I can believe that.
Yeah.
If you're out there and a car salesman, we're not talking about you, we're talking about everyone else.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Definitely.
This is quite fun. So obviously Frances McDormand, that was a word. She's pregnant. She's playing Marge, who was a pregnant cop. And apparently, so she obviously had to wear the suit. So it had a big tummy, it had boobies and everything. I read somewhere that basically the belly is full of seeds, essentially, that kind of grainy stuff, but the boobs were silicone. And apparently the suit was left out, I think, in a car or something, in a boot somewhere overnight. And then, so the boobs went solid, they went frozen. So she put them back on. And apparently during shooting, as they started to defrost, the silicone just exploded.
Oh my god!
So her boobs exploded on set, which is quite fun. Well, probably not for her.
Wait, hang on. That's just right. Sorry, my brain's just gone and done the thing. If you get fake tits, do you have to stay out of the cold?
I don't know.
I don't think so. So they go on, the silicone goes under the muscle, so.
Yeah, maybe that keeps it warm.
If you lie out on a cold day, you're gonna get these frozen. They're gonna cling as you hit them, ging, 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 and explode by dinner time.
Who's there? Hitting them big.
Well, if you woke
walking down the
if you
street.
woke up and your breasts were suddenly entirely solid, you'd start to hit them, wouldn't you? Be like, what's going on here? This is strange.
Well, I feel like they'd be swinging and
How
clanking
cold
on
would
each
you
other,
have to
wouldn't
have
they?
been?
Minnesota cold.
Yeah, clearly.
Ridiculous. But apart from that, the only other fake thing, that I know of on Frances McDormand at the time was a wig as well. So she's naturally quite dark haired. This is quite funny, and this is due to obviously there being quite a low budget for the film. So Jean, the wife of Jerry who ends up getting kidnapped, she wasn't let go, but they only paid her to do the scenes where she was in person, and so she's before she gets kidnapped. Then the minute after that, and it's showing the woman in the hood, that's not her. They were like, yeah, that's it, you're done now, thanks. And basically they didn't want to pay her. Why would you bother paying an A-list celebrity when you can just get the body double to, pay it? Which is quite it's a bit stingy, but if you've got a low budget, you've got to do what you got to do, I guess.
How gutted would you be, right? Being her and having to do the ADR work and you're watching someone else play your role. You're like, mother, you know exactly what's going on.
Speaking of ADR work, this is completely off subject, but you've just made me think of, when... what do you call it? Hugh Jackman has to go back in and add all the grunty sounds.
Yeah.
Wolverine. If you've not watched that video, go out and watch it. It's very funny.
He gets so into it.
It's great.
He's moving his body around. It's brilliant.
It's amazing. Hats off to anyone that does ADR and all the audio work. Jesus Christ. So my last kind of two now are basically, this is kind of somewhat of a filmy point of view, I guess, but every time Marge and Norm, her husband, are in shot together, this is kind of to contrast with everyone else. They are always together in scene, even in scenes where they're sat down, they'll be somewhat equal. If someone leaves the room, there was a great example I saw of when she gets called to go to the scene in the first place, and he's like, I'll make you some eggs, and they wake up. And he's sat at the table, and as she goes to leave out down the stairs and everything, and she comes back in, she's still level with him, no matter when, to kind of show that they're in love. That's this is the perfect thing, which really contrasts with obviously Jerry and his wife, who are always kind of seen in cuts, and if they're together, it's only quite briefly, which I think is quite nice. And then the last thing is, if you would like to see the world famous wood chipper from the end of the film, it is actually displayed in the Fargo Moorhead Visitor Centre. people can go and see it.
It's
so
amazing.
Nice.
Can you imagine that, welcoming people into your town, being like, and here's a wood chipper where a human body was stuffed into
It should occasionally spew out like blood and stuff. You
That
know?
would
like
be
a little
hilarious.
attraction.
Oh my god. What happened with that, mommy? No, I don't want to know. That's kind of it for facts. Like you say, it's one of those films where there's like I said, there's not a lot to talk about for it, but it's good. I can't explain it, and I'm sure you guys would somewhat agree.
I was telling Charlotte about it earlier, and like the way I described it is like, I guess unexceptionally exceptional. Like it's all good. You know, like it's shot really well. It does like little things, like nice little techniques that are worth learning about, like the way they linger on shots for like just so long. But it I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's always well done. It's always like nice little jokes and stuff. It's like good timing and things like this. But it's not. It's nothing I can get excited about. You know what I mean? It's boringly good. Like to study it and to learn it, this is a great example, especially the lower budget aspect. You could go out and you could shoot a scene from Fargo for basically no money, as long as you just had a couple mates and, you know, whatever, an egg sandwich. Like, but maybe this is just me, because I love style so much. Obviously, I mean, I've mentioned before, one of my favorite directors is Edgar Wright. I love Gordon Miller. Like, I'm not going to go run out to see this again. It's good, but I'm like, yeah, it's just good.
No, I know what you mean. And like you say, it is one of those films where, like you say, it's Marmite to some people, where, like you say, if, like for example, my dad, he loves watching, he'll just sit and watch a slow film. He likes the idea of seeing a story unfold over time. Whereas, like, that's not everyone's cup of tea. That some people just, that's not what they want to do. And what I feel like with this film, what they've tried to do, and I've read in a couple of interviews and stuff, they wanted to kind of do, and I feel like this is what the Coen brothers tend to do quite a lot with their films. So I do think the Coen brothers in general are Marmite to some people. They want their films to come across quite realistic. So like you said, lingering on shots, there's no, and like I said before, stylistic choices. There's nothing majorly kind of, like say like with a Wes Anderson film, where everything, you look at a film and you go, I know who that is. With the Coen brothers film, you may or may not get that, because like a lot of it's fairly like dull natural tones, but again, that's kind of reflecting the environment that is there. They don't want to change anything that isn't there. Like why would we turn up the saturation when it didn't look like that? I think that's probably their process with this kind of a film. But yeah, like you say,
True Grit, it is crazy realistic. Like it's very what's the word? Like I don't know, I can't describe it. They're just very like, it's like brutal but not brutal, in a sense that it's just the way it was, you know what I mean? So like how other westerns, if the horse collapses and they need to shoot it, they'll cut away. In True Grit, it'll just be a long shot walking up, shooting the horse in the head, and that'll be it. You know what I mean? It's very like that.
It is what it
very
is.
matter of fact and just plain.
Yeah, it's kind of like, this is how it was then. We're making our film. Even like the newest one, the Bollard of I can never say it. Buster Shrugs. It's stylistic in a sense that like it's kind of each individual stories, but there's a sense that you get a sense of it, the way they talk. You can tell there's been research in the way people actually spoke. Like the way they say certain words, or the way like they have little mannerisms instead of saying like, I don't know, instead of saying them, they say they in like weird context words. Where we would say like they did this, they'd say like, them did this or something like that. It's little things like that you'd hardly notice, but and he does it through all of them. It's just, that's what I like about him. It's really good. Almost
like witch-esque level of plainness, and just not anything super stylistic that kind of makes it its own style. The Witch was quite styled, like it could be quite stylistic, but also it was very just nothing super standouty about it, which kind of makes it stand out, I guess.
The thing they kind of do, a lot of the like gimmick and like a lot of the funny bits that come from it is they take this stuff that to us is so like, no, I don't know, because it's not like completely shocking, you know what I mean? It's just stuff that was back then, and it's, it's little things, but they do it in a way that's kind of like it's hard to describe. The comedy comes from how normal it is in the film, rather than like the way they are in this, where the way they speak and they're just like oh yeah, and they're all just saying that over and over.
I don't 100% agree with you on your police work there, Lou. Just the way they say things,
it's the normality of the way the characters are like acting around it, where a lot of the comedy comes from, and it's the same in like all the films, really. Like, it's just little things. Like, a really good one of those that I really like is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And there's not a lot of people like that one apparently, but I really like it. And it's the same thing. It's set in like the 1920s, and it's just, I don't know, it's just little things. It's like that. Like, they just take historic places and just, it's good. I like them.
Like a lot of the way the dialogue's written in this, like you say, the way I describe it is like, it's marrying normality with the absurd. Like the situations, the things that happen in this movie are like chilling, but the way the conversations that are happening around them are so distressingly normal. Conversations just about the weather, movies, this, that, and the other. What it's like is it's like dialogue from Clerks has like dripped into this crime thriller. You know what I mean? And I love it. It's brilliant. That stuff's great. And I think while visually, like, there isn't anything standout style, for the writing there is. And even then, like it's not like the Coen brothers, and Roger Deakins did cinematography as well for this. All of them are exceptional, but it's little things like Jerry Lundegaard. That's right? Can't remember his last name. It's that bit where he just has to ice off the front of his car. And it's brilliant. And he's just frustrated. And he slips and then he chucks it. And then you've just got to watch him painfully walk over and pick it up and start again. And so many of the films wouldn't ever have thought to put that in there. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah. That's one thing I've read again, like you said, where you said the writing is such a big part. Apparently the Coen brothers, like, they want you to read the script word for word. Like, so there's a reason for things. So, like, apparently, what's his name again? The Swedish fellow, Peter. Apparently there's a line, I can't remember it word for word, like I say, he says like, oh, are we going Pancake House? And when they were filming it, he went, oh, we going to the Pancake House? And they went, what, Peter, you didn't say that, right? He's like, oh, I thought it was a typo. And he's like, no, there's no typos in our scripts. Like, apparently they're very specific. They want you to say it the way it's said. Which, like you say, Sam, that's kind of, I don't know, could that be seen as pretentious? I don't know. Like, that's quite good script writing, because they know what they want to get and they know the vibe that they want. Fair. Which is quite commendable. It's interesting. But yeah, so plot, like you say, it's a slow plot, but stuff does happen. So I've condensed this very, very kind of small. We'll talk about little bits and bobs that we liked. So I've literally, the first thing I put literally was simple film, simple look, feels real to me, good storytelling. There you go. That was my thoughts at the time. So you see kind of that Jerry's in this financial trouble at the beginning of the film. I won't be going from scene to scene. I will just go through the plot and then just kind of pull things out. Because like I say, there's a lot of just kind of like stuff. And so he basically goes to see these like two dodgiest criminals in the world, doesn't he? Steve Buscemi and the Peter. And they basically agree that Jerry's going to steal a car from his dealership. And then they are going to split $80,000 from the father-in-law, who's just rich and just doesn't want to do anything. He just doesn't like Jerry, which is fair, I guess. He's meant to be come across as just like, I'm this really big, like, really wealthy guy, and obviously Jerry's a little bit more kind of like reserved and shy. And obviously the kidnap doesn't exactly go to plan, which I think it's so weird, because like you say, that's something that should be terrifying for someone. But, like, they're just kind of, like, strolling in. He just kind of walks up and he's like, yep, I'll just smash it here. Other guy walks through the front door. It's, like, it's comedic in a way.
I love the bit where she's knitting And then she just turns her head, and there's this guy just looks through the window, and she's just looking at him, just like looking at him, like, what the fuck is he doing? And it's not until he smashes through the window, this guy in a balaclava with a hammer,
a crowbar,
looking through a window. It's not until he smashes through the window that she panics.
It's great.
I tell you what, though, I don't know that I wouldn't react the same way.
Yeah,
I don't think my brain's ready to process like that information.
No.
I would just stare back at them for like a good minute. Like, what do I do? Do I tell him to leave? Do I ring the police? What do I do?
Well, it's also like, would you guys, like, you know, when she's hiding behind the shower curtain, and then she just decides to attack them, but doesn't think about the fact that the shower curtain's going to get stuck on her, and then you watch her like fall down the stairs. Like, it shouldn't be funny, but it is. Like. And I think that is something, like you said, that would go through someone's mind. Like, okay, right, well, I've got him, I'm hiding, I might as well try. Like, so yeah, that's quite funny. And I love, apparently this was, is it? I always forget people's names too easily. Is it Henry, the guy? William H Macy. He apparently suggested, you know, when he's like, before he answers the phone, he's like, oh, geez, Wade, you know. And then he picks up the phone. Apparently that was his suggestion to, like, that he thought that the character of Jerry would basically plan out what he was going to say first, which again just makes him more of a kind of like Weasley little kind of guy.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
But it's so funny. It's such a funny scene. And so Jerry's also trying to get like his father-in-law into business, and it's failing. He just doesn't want to know anything about it, and that's where those scenes of like the frustration come from, which are really funny. So as that's all kind of happening, the two, the two balaclavaed men, the kidnappers, that's the word, they get pulled over by the police, and so like Steve Buscemi's there like trying to bribe them, and Peter Stormare, he just shoots them, and this kind of establishes the fact that like Steve Buscemi is just doing something to get money. He's just a petty thief, whereas his accomplice, he's like, as we learned, he's pretty psychotic. He's not normal, and this kind of establishes that like, oh shit, okay, this is a bit weird.
I love the way they do violence. There is something special about the way the Coens do violence, and I think again it might be the lingering stuff. It's like he grabs the cop's head, smashes it on the window, gun straight to the head, pops out. It's really quick, it's really visceral, and it's so normal to this guy. And then they linger on Steve Buscemi's face, covered in blood, for maybe a good 20 or 30 seconds. It just stays there as he like tries to comprehend what he's just seen. And it lets it settle into you so much more than it would if it was just, I don't know, like a really quick, you know, like it's got 10 different shots in it, and all the camera's going,
cuts in, yeah.
Yeah. The way they just let you see it all and linger on it, that's quite special. It's quite different.
I think they said that takes it straight back to the realism part, like that they want you to feel like you are there in the scene. They're not here to be stylistic and crazy. They want you to, like you said, get that kind of emotional attachment to it.
Like the way the blood came out of his head as well.
Yeah, like
that sounds really morbid, but ordinarily it would just be like a bang and then a bit of a splat on the windows or something, and that would be it. But the little blood fountain,
it's like a little fat.
That's an odd little detail.
Yeah.
There. Probably
it's
would
weird
happen.
I was going to say, would that happen?
Shot very many people in the head.
It's really weird that Steve Buscemi didn't get out of the car with just like his pants covered in like blood. It just like poured into his lap. It's like a soup, and he's oh man, brain soup.
Maybe Steve Buscemi like drew a line. He was like, nah.
I'm not having soup on
not
me.
Doing that.
But then unfortunately 2 passers-by do actually go past, and fun fact, again, I didn't write the name of the guy down, but if you literally Google Fargo trivia, it comes straight up. The guy in the car is actually a script supervisor, a storyboard artist even, who just agreed to do it, but in the credits he's not actually listed. It was like a little symbol, which at the time everyone thought was the Prince symbol. So they were like, where's Prince in the film? I didn't see Prince in this film, like, you know. But it wasn't. I think they were just being the Coen brothers and just kind of being a bit, know.
Imagine being that guy, and now his character's like the front cover of the box, just him lying in the snow.
Yeah.
It's literally just him. Like that's imagine that. That'd be so weird.
That'd be really
like
weird.
the bloody poster for the film.
And you're literally just a storyboard supervisor guy. Like, literally. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's so weird.
I mean, he is a dead body, and he's got his face down, so you can't tell it's him. But still, if you watch the film, you know it's him. Like, yeah, I'm the guy. I'm the dead body on the front of Fargo. Yeah.
And again, you kind of see this kind of more psychotic, crazy side. I need to have this like to hand, don't I? Yeah, that one. Why is his like last name and then his character's name like the hardest thing for me to pronounce? This isn't very good. And again, yeah, he just shoots them down in cold blood after they kind of crash, which is pretty intense. And then obviously we get this Marge wakes up and she goes off to the scene with her partner, not partner, her cop partner. And we get this kind of really again slightly funny scene because it's just normal police work. They're there with a coffee, just kind of looking at it. Oh yeah, oh one here. Oh yeah, he's dead. Oh, there's one over there. Do you know what I mean? There's like, it's just normal to them, and so that kind of like say for us who this isn't normal at all. Watching someone just casually walk around with a coffee cup, you kind of like, what? Okay, that's kind of funny.
There's almost more focus on the coffee as well. The way she chucks it away at the end of the scene, like she is putting more in her mind about like her drink than 3 homicides. It's comical. It's brilliant.
It's really good. I read something just before as well, where basically, so you know when she's halfway through, she's just said, oh yeah, he's dead, da 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 da, and then she's like talking to her partner, and then she kind of leans over to be sick, and he's like, are you okay, Margie? And she's like, yeah, just think I'm gonna barf, and then she's fine. Apparently they put that in as like kind of a subtle dig because every time a female police officer in films would see a dead body, I think one of the examples I read was like Silence of the Lambs, they pretty much instantly throw up. Whereas this, it's like she's not throwing up because she's seen 2 bodies. She saw them and didn't really care. It's the morning sickness from being pregnant, which I thought was quite a funny subtle dig, which again, I didn't know that unless I'd looked it up. But yeah. They basically, she tracks them down. And then she goes and has the interview with Jerry, which is, again, just very normal and very kind of like, there's nothing amazing about, you don't kind of get intense music as she's walking up like, down, knowing that she's going to, it just walks in, she's like, can I get a seat? You know what, I'm carrying a bit more here, you know, like just kind of being funny and like, but he's shitting it.
The music's great in this, actually.
It's got a good score.
It's really understated. And that's what makes it work. Like when it kicks in, something serious is going down. Like just the noise. I mean, it's mostly just the wood chipper, but right at the end, the way the music builds in that, before cutting off suddenly and just having diegetic noise, it's really strong stuff because most of the movie was silent. This movie is a really good example of less is more, I think.
Oh, I 100%. I totally agree with you there. Yeah, and so basically Jerry's kind of like, I think he's just kind of starting to panic, and so he's like, oh, the kidnappers want more than 80,000, they want $1 million, basically just as a way to get more money and kind of, you know, just be a little bit more kind of, what's the word? You know, what's the word? I literally had it, it's got out my head. Just kind of
a cunt?
Yeah, that'll do. So Jerry's like, oh, I'm going to go meet them and get them, we'll do the money. And of course, Wade is like, no chance, it's my daughter, I'm going to do that. And he's just being a typical kind of dicky dad. And so he goes to meet them. But right, one thing I'm realizing is like, I feel really bad for the son. And I'm pretty sure the son is in the TV show, isn't he? I don't know this, but Joe, is he?
I think he appears in the show.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check.
Because I'm pretty sure one of the like things I watched about it is that like they don't really take much like the dad kind of just walks in on the son like and he's like, oh, it's all right, everything's gonna be okay, because in his mind he knows what's kind of going on, but obviously doesn't really know what's going on. But like this kid genuinely thinks his mom has been kidnapped, she's gonna die, spoiler, like, you know, like he's like proper shit in it, and they're just kind of like, yeah, Wade doesn't care, he just wants to go off and shoot a guy. Like I feel really sorry for this kid. But is it coming up for you, Joe? I'm pretty sure it said that he appears in the show, but he might not.
I think there's a cameo. He's not like a main character or anything.
It's the original guy, isn't it? Yeah.
I was saying before we started, as people who haven't seen the show, how the fuck did they make this last 4 seasons?
It's so good, you know. The show's so good.
I've heard that it's good.
A different story. First season's a sequel to this, technically, but not really. It's not. It's really weird. It's got no link to it really, other than like one thing, and the whole thing, it's just a similar kind of vibe where there's like one thing, but like multiple things are going on at once, and that's kind of how they do it. And then it kind of switches in between. So each season, I mean, I've seen season 1 and 2. I got like halfway through season 3, and I don't know why I stopped. I was enjoying it. I think I was doing something. They're all kind of linked by like one thing. So like the first season's linked to the film by like a tiny little thing. It's got something to do with the money. And then the sequel season, season 2 is set in like the 70s. And it's basically a backstory for one of the characters from season 1. I can't remember what the link between 2 and 3 was, but
how long is each season?
What?
How many episodes are there per season?
10 possibly.
Oh, okay. That sounds more manageable than doing like 20 something.
How could you imagine?
It's really thingy. Let me double check. It's really good. Each season's got kind of like someone famous as like the lead for it.
Yeah, we were reading the cast. I can't remember if you'd have joined the call before, but yeah, we were looking. And it must be good for that many people to want to be in.
Oh yeah. Oh, it is really good. It really surprised me how good it was, because I started watching after I watched the film. Thinking I was like, I'll give one episode, and I just binge watched the whole first season. I couldn't stop watching it. It's so good. 11 episodes. No, not 11 episodes. 10 episodes a season.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's crazy how I recommend you all watch it.
I might
Even
watch
if
it this
you
week.
thought this film was only okay, I recommend you watch it. It's such a good show on its own. Oh man, I might actually watch it again. It's good. Good.
There you go. You're welcome.
Oh, and that's the thing. That's a good thing about the show. Every episode starts with that thing at the beginning of the film where it says this is based on true events, but da 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 da. Every single episode starts with that.
That's quite fun.
In some creative. It's always like a wide shot as well. And like a long wide shot of like a car driving or something. So it's good.
They like cars driving in this film a lot.
Yeah.
So this showdown between Wade and Steve Buscemi's character goes completely wrong. He ends up getting shot in like just off the face. Obviously Wade gets killed. And he goes off to bury the money, doesn't he? Because essentially I think he's going to go back and get it. I think it's his plan.
Yeah.
And he goes back to give the other guy his share of the 80,000, and he finds out that this psychotic weirdo has shot Jean because she was annoying, essentially. Which again, he's just the weirdo in this story. He's not the real villain. Like, I think Jerry's partly one of the main villains in this because he's just not a nice guy. But then there's like a showdown, and Steve Buscemi's character gets killed, and like Marge is pretty hot on their heels. Like, she's like basically catching up with them by this point. And she realizes that kind of Jerry is definitely involved in this after more interviews with him, and she's just kind of driving around and kind of ironically just kind of spots the car, and it's like, that was quite, and then and she, like I said, there's this amazing kind of build up to her walking over to the wood chipper, and like you said, Sam, the music and the sound of it's all kind of really intense, and you can kind of tell that she's quite a good cop in the sense that when she shoots him in the leg, because she could have killed him right there on the spot. She's seen what he was doing, but in her mind, she's like, I want him to serve a sentence. Like, clearly she's thinking this through. But just that wood chipper, how did you guys feel when you first saw it? Because I, like you said, lingering on things and things seeming like you could have been way more over the top with that. You could have had hands and arms flailing out of it, but there's just one foot. And for me, what always makes me feel really grim is when it's not going further in. So he looks around and he just grabs a piece of wood and he just puts it on the foot, and I'm like, oh, it makes me feel like ill every time. But yeah, what did you guys think of the whole wood chipper, the iconic wood chipper?
It's not exactly the most discreet way of getting body, is it?
No.
At all. You could have buried it and waited for it to snow and that's done. Or you're next to a lake, just chuck it in a lake. But no, let's paint the surrounding area red and make it stand out to anyone who's just kind of walking by. Good creative choice, though. Good looking. But
I think it kind of fits like his character though, like him just not caring, like him spraying blood all over the place. This is the same guy who just shoots a police officer in the head.
Yeah.
And leaves
while
the
his
body
mate is
and
like,
and then just chases after two people and shoots them. Like, it's
without any hesitation, it would just
I think if he like buried them, it would have been too. I don't want to say normal, because sensible. But you know what I mean. Like, it would have been too sensible of a way to do it. Like, make it as messy as possible is this guy's kind of motto, I suppose.
Yeah, and how casually he's doing it as well. It's like this was option A for him. You know, he just, I probably should deal with this. What have I got around me? That'll do. Yeah, sorted. Wood chipper, brilliant. He's not fussed by it at all. Do you know what? I tell you what does kind of shock me about this movie is, so after Steve Buscemi leaves, well, attempts to leave, he dashes out the door with that fucking axe, right? That, like, I gasped as it was happening because it was this movie. Because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to watch Steve Buscemi get axed down. And it doesn't. It cuts to black, and I don't know how I feel about that. Like, from everything else that they've done in this movie that they've just shown you, this one they wouldn't.
No.
And it's probably more of a budget thing than a creative thing.
Yeah, but they couldn't get the effect or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, it feels... I gasped because I thought I was going to see it, and I didn't. And was that better? I don't know.
It kind of plays the mind where you, like you say, because you know you've seen everything. It's like, did I want to see that? Like, which is, it's quite funny. And then, Jerry ends up just kind of going to prison, and you get, like, the long shot of all the cars, obviously, as everyone's driving off. And I can't remember, like I said, I watched it a couple of days ago. I think it ends, doesn't it, on Marge and Jerry in bed?
Yeah.
And it's just them.
Not Jerry.
Not Jerry. Oh my God, can you imagine?
What a plot twist.
Marge and Norm in bed, and it's just like, just back to normal, aren't they? They're just kind of like, just enjoying each other's company, and then it ends. And that is the end of my notes. I've just written down a couple of funny scenes. One being, obviously, the phone call, which we spoke about. The coffee, looking at bodies while just casually sipping a coffee. One scene I did find quite funny was when Jerry comes home and Wade is there, the father-in-law, and he's just being a dick. He's like, who are they playing? And he's just like, yeah. He's like, is he staying for dinner? Are you staying for dinner? Yeah. He just doesn't like Jerry, basically, and he's just going to do everything in his power to be a dick. And then the interview with the interview with the prostitutes. What did it look like? Yeah, funny looking. Is that it? Yeah, he was circumcised though. Like, brilliant. That's really gonna help. And again, it's just, they're funny because everything seems somewhat normal, and then you kind of get these silly little things that come out, and you're like, that kind of come out of nowhere. And that's why I think this film did well. So I don't really have much more to say.
That is fair. Okay, well, what we're going to do now is we're going to go around and we're going to each give our final thoughts on the movie and individually give it a score out of 10. Then I'm going to use maths to give it a score out of 100 and find out where it ranks on our list of the best to worst movies of all time. Amelia, kick us off.
Yep, I'll keep it short and sweet because I'm sure you guys don't want to hear my voice any longer. Basically, I enjoyed this film. I think it's a great way of, learning how a film doesn't have to be so showy and, like, have every single piece of special effect and have every single, like, amazing plot twist in the world. It's a story and you follow it. And I sometimes want that. And I really enjoyed it. And so for me personally, I'm going to give this film a 9.
Fair. Jacob?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was alright or okay. Nothing super standout for me. But then again, that's kind of what it was aiming for, as we've kind of discussed. I think I'm going to give it a 7. It was good. It's definitely not bad, but it was good.
Joe?
I mean, I like Coen Brothers films anyway. Like, out of, like, directors that I'd probably choose to, like, watch, like directors when they've got new films coming out, I'm excited for the film. You get excited for, like, film franchises or whatever, but then every once in a while you get, like, excited. It's like I'm excited for when they're making Macbeth at the minute, and I don't like Macbeth in general, but I'm excited for it because it's them making it. They do good stuff. A lot of their films are kind of chilled, but True Grit. It's a western. It could be gunslinging, bandits or whatever. But it's not, really. It's very kind of, we're going to chase after this guy, and you find him at the end, but not in like a boring way, like a realistic, this is most likely how it went, no one's fighting, shooting guns everywhere kind of way. And it's the same with like Hail Caesar. It's, set in 1950s Hollywood, but it's just like a day in the life of 1950s Hollywood. It's really good. And this is the same thing, like this is one of the better films, I think. I've watched this film, God, this might be like the 5th or 6th time I've seen it. So I'm going to give it, I was going to give it a 9. I was going to give it a 9 anyway, but then Emil's like, oh yeah, I'm going to give it a 9 as well. Like,
great minds think alike.
Like yeah, I'm going to give it a 9.
Fair. Yeah, this movie is good. But it's one of these, I think if you're interested in film and you haven't seen, like whether it's just, a hobby of yours and you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. If you're interested in making film, it's definitely worth a watch, especially with the aspect of like, you come away from it and you know that it didn't take much to make that film. It was great and it had great performances. And, if you've got a camera and a couple of mates who are good actors, you can make a good movie. You can make a good movie. You don't need all the bells and whistles. And it's good for teaching you how to do that. But as a source of entertainment, I wouldn't put it on. Not to say that I definitely wouldn't ever watch it again, but there's a million other films that I would. That being said, it is an 8 because I think it's stunning. It's the only reason it's not a perfect, because I was almost tempted to give it a higher, a 9 or a 10, because it is really good, but it's really good in a way that it's not that I can't describe it, it's that to describe it would be dull. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as a result, it's an 8. So that gives us an overall score of 82.5 out of 100.
Question time?
We've had this one a couple of times.
Yeah.
So, okay. let's do lightning round, okay? Fargo or Bill and Ted? Amelia?
I'm going to go Bill and Ted just because like you said earlier, I Fargo's good and I love it, but I think I'd rewatch the other one more.
Fair enough. Jacob?
Yeah, Bill and Ted.
Joe?
I'd watch Fargo over Bill and Ted.
I'd watch Bill and Ted. Oh my God. So Fargo loses in the first round and gets its place as the 13th greatest movie of all time. Still good. Still very high. So that brings us to the most important part of the show, and that's finding out what we're going to be watching next time. Jacob, let us know.
Yeah, okay. So, this is going to be our penultimate episode for a while.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, this is the end of an era, end of a saga, you could say. This is a sequel to some films that we've touched on before. It's not Bad Boys 2, don't worry. We are instead going to be watching Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
I haven't watched that for a while. Mate. Go on then.
I half expected you to say it's not Bad Boys 2. It's Bad Boys 3.
Bad Boys 3. Bad Boys 3 live.
Oh. I feel like we've got a lot to say about Star Wars in general, but specifically this one.
This movie. I haven't watched it since it came out.
Neither
but I am excited
for
it. Like, what a laugh, this fucking film. Cool, great. If you've enjoyed this movie, I can't speak. Oh my God, what's going wrong? If you've enjoyed this episode about Fargo, consider giving us a like and a subscribe and let us know what you think of the movie and this episode of the show in the comments down below. If you've been listening to us on your favorite podcasting app, consider hitting a follow or the subscribe button. That would also be cool. And if you want to find us on either platform, YouTube or podcasts, just search for the Outtakes Movie Podcast and we'll come straight up. You can also consider following us on Twitter and Instagram at The Real Outtakes for updates on the show, as well as maybe sending us an email at theouttakesmoviepod@gmail.com. Brilliant. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.